All right, this does not cover everything we've talked about. Brenda's going to cover some of that. We talked about a bunch of wide-ranging things. Maybe the idea that I think I was drawn to, but builds off of what we talked about at the table that Amin or Brenda can describe in more detail, is kind of like a proof of retrieval, sort of, proof of work based on retrieval, where what does the client care about? Getting their data back as soon as possible. And how do you align incentives there? Maybe you pay out the retrieval cost to the provider that provides you the data fastest. And maybe you do that on a proportional basis if they don't have all the data, kind of like a BitTorrent-esque system where you pay the person who peers and sends you the most chunks of that data proportionally. So that was like one idea we were playing with. I'd say this is just something that helped me reframe the question in my head that I don't know if it'll help, it's not a real idea. Maybe it's back to boiling the ocean, but we think a lot about the end user not willing to pay for data and pay for content when in fact they do. Through their ISP, through their mobile network, they're willing to pay. It's just upfront, as we said, and it's a certain amount of bandwidth that they're willing to pay for, and they can use that bandwidth for anything. There's just tiered layers of service that you get with that bandwidth. So if you like use that analogy further, Filecoin data, you can retrieve it right now. Let's call it eventual retrieval. It may not come back in an hour, but maybe in a couple of years you'll get it back, right? If you really wanted to. Like in the worst case, right? But maybe you're willing to pay to get that data sooner, and maybe that's where Saturn comes in. Maybe you're willing to pay, maybe not through Phil directly, but maybe through providing work on the Saturn network to get some of that data for free by setting up your station node or something like that. So I think there's a tiered way of thinking about it where some people are willing to pay for faster data speed, i.e. data, and others are less willing. And maybe that's a way to think about it as well. I'll let Brenda talk about or I mean, if you want to talk about the other ideas we talked about.